progression system about how monetization is going to work. So I understand completely the dissatisfaction that everyone has right now with not having those things answered. But as far as where our work is concerned, that's been the focus, making sure CCP understands every step of the way what players are going to expect as far as honoring that investment. And so we've had it back through this in that respect, trying to make sure that first of all, this game delivers on everything that people have wanted it to be, and that all of the feedback that we've been hearing about what people have and haven't liked about Dusk, make sure that all of that is channeled functionally and creatively and built into Legion from the beginning. And then also making sure that as we, as Legion eventually, hopefully moves from prototype to an actual game and launch and all of that, that the community's interests, are respected as much as possible. So that's what we've been up to for 6 months. So glad it's out in the open now, and we can talk about it, and it's refreshing in that respect. That the good, the bad, the ugly, we can at least air it out now and start to work forward with greater transparency. So that's what we've been up to now. We can go to any questions you have based on that. Or
I also want to cut off another question that's definitely going to come up at this stage. No, there is no current scheduled date for CPM elections. There's a couple of factors in the way of that I need to get out of the way, and it's not one of them, for example, is we need to get some remote to get the actual site for the elections. We need to get that sorted before I'll actually be confident enough to say we're having elections the next day. There's also some other structural concerns, and just going forward, what are we going to do? Some of those questions which we need to decide internally that before I'll actually announce those elections.
Yeah, don't worry. We have a summit Sunday and Monday, and we're going to yell at them for it.
Yeah, I can very much assume that there will be a lot of yelling, productive yelling, I hope, but yelling all the same.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
I feel right away. I just want to look at it.
This. Like the whole white paper and stuff for the next CPM. So this next CPM will be the first elected one.
So you guys are going to rewrite the white paper?
Don't really see, at this stage, we don't really see any need to rewrite the white paper. At this stage,
maybe add a couple of words here.
We might do a little bit. For the most part, the structure of the white paper, I don't see any immediate need to rewrite any of those sections, unless it was something particular comes up where we decide we want to change the formal structure of the CPM, but at the moment there's nothing of that kind going on at the moment.
We could add a line about that the CPM is well equipped not only to advise on Dusk 514 but also their new prototype project that is being developed on PC architecture. So
prototype.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So
I'm just interested because this white paper, I believe with the CSM. In using the same white paper?
No.
Okay, well, what happened was the white paper, there is a white paper. I like this person. No, the white paper itself is something that was originally...
Everybody happy? I didn't know you'd be more. Take this chair. Hey, you want glasses?
No,
Glasses are for chumps.
So essentially, the white paper was originally used to establish the CSM. It basically formally defines what their functions are and how they work and how things such as the elections will operate. And we created one for Dust, basically, for the CPM. And I don't really get... Sorry, that's what basically what the white paper is. I don't quite understand what your question is asking.
Okay,
Might need to repeat it because we had an interruption.
The CSM said that you have to be an active member for a certain period of time. Now, I'm not sure how that would translate into Dust, since there isn't really a way of tracking.
You probably want to read the white paper because all that stuff is in there.
Oh, it is.
That's in the white paper. We've written the white paper. It's out and available. There's a thread that's sticky at the top that has
requirements for participation.
And if we
playtime limitations.
And if, in all honesty, we find that somebody's basically game the system or able to basically and do it without fulfilling what we would consider a reasonable amount of effort and investment to be able to be eligible as a member of the CPM, then we will change those requirements. So it's something that if we see like this is not really the proper set of requirements and we need to make it so it actually is requirements, that's something you actually have to achieve, then we'll change it. But at the moment there's an existing set and so far we haven't had too many people coming up with issues. But yes.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Just even statements, thoughts of the CPM?
No, I'm done.
So I'm with live streaming with Rouge and Twitter. I just want to put on record, these guys have been fucking awesome to work with the last 9 months I've been here. They've put in some serious insane hours and gotten up at crazy o'clock in the morning, you know. I mean, we're all over different time zones here. I mean, I'm in China. I mean, holy shit. You know, compared to you guys. Meetings have never been easy, and you know, I don't think it's easy being a council member for either of the games. You know, things have been a little rocky, obviously, going through the many transitions Dust has over its existence, and it's you know, I have absolutely nothing but good words to say about these guys, and you know, just the guys on the forums say sort of things like, you know, we tell them to say things, or they're, you know, acting on our behalf. That's absolutely not true. Everything they say is on their own volition, like everything they say. And
if you guys did, we'd flip the hell out.
Yeah,
Like,
the way in which the CPM and there's also by extension the CSM works is basically if we would try and use these guys as a PR mouthpiece, so basically to try and shove up. These guys would immediately all resign in disgust and say basically CCP is a terrible product.
We wouldn't resign so much as just say these guys are trying to use this as a PR stunt. It's bullshit. This is why, and we're just telling you guys
like
because
it's absolutely vital that the CPM basically operates as basically these people maintain their independence and their ability to do the things that they think is right by the community. Because at the end of the day, the CPM is elected as a community advocacy group towards CCP. And if they cannot be advocates for the community, then they can't really function.
We're useless to them if we don't challenge them on the stuff that they need to be challenged on. And frankly, I feel like if we didn't challenge them, if we just sat there and told them that what they're doing was awesome all the time, we probably wouldn't, a CPM 1 wouldn't exist. Because CPM 0 would have been so fucking useless. You know, because they've got their own people that have their own ideas. Like, they can sit around in the office and tell themselves that their ideas are great all day long. They don't need us for that. If that's what was transpiring, like, there just wouldn't be another round.
Yeah.
So we're only useful to them if we criticize, if we question, if we challenge, and if we fight for the things that need to be fought for.
Basically, building on that, one of the most important functions the CPM can ask is why.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is our idea. And then the CPM asks why. What is good about this? Why not this? Why not do that at all? That's one of the most important functions of the CPM, and that's primarily why we have the NDA, so we can tell them things that would cause the community to flip tables. Like some of the things we probably talked about in the past, probably if we told the community, they would have flipped tables. But the thing is, keep it in, and we can have a rational discussion, and then we can come to something that's hopefully better.
I bet there's probably some table flipping after today.
There will be table flipping.
Yeah, we've already flipped our tables like months ago.
There will be some more tables to be flipped in the summit.
What is your
thoughts
on the PR leading up to this?
I'll be very frank. I think I completely understand that the messaging surrounding Legion and Dust is rather confusing, and you know, but I'm not a PR guy. I'm not a marketing guy myself. I'm not an expert in these things. So like, all I can do is tell CCP this is rather confusing, and you're going to have questions. And we did. We told them it was rather confusing, that there were going to be questions, and that's what it is. What it is. You know, in the end, it's their company, their decision, and you know, and I understand to some degree why some of these decisions were made. Like, I think it's easier in some capacity to talk about what's worked on with Dust and what's being worked on with Legion. It's easier to separate the two and not use the two about Dust here, Dust there. You know, like, I understand some value in separating it, but it's not. It's going to leave a lot of questions still.
I mean, I'll just say, like, I was literally on the street with him over there.
For anybody that's no CCP Praetorian, he's our creative director.
I think you owe us.
Should have brought it for the whole group.
Are you in pub call group number 20? If you're in the 20th pub call group, that'll probably happen.
Group,
by
is
the
it
way,
group
by the way,
20 like 300
I'm
people?
bringing some.
We heard.
Is it impossible to change protocol?
No, we're going to bring them to all of them. Like, we won't stay with 20 people the whole time. We're going to like.
Oh.
Good, that's 760.
And by the way, there's what's this hostage thing?
Hostage?
We're doing something.
We're gonna kidnap you.
Feel free to blurt more out if you want to talk about some
Anyway, guys, we're getting a bit off track.
Back to what I was going to say. We're on that point. Like we were literally on live stream trying to answer all the questions that people had, and I think actually Adam did a tremendous job of that. He answered a super long question. We also just put out like a little mini statement on the forums just now. I stickied it. I'm probably getting lots of reviews. I haven't seen it since. So anyway, like I mean, we do listen to these guys, and you know, we have a running Skype conversation with them, and they very often focus on stuff.
Hey, Jesse. I'm Julie. This is Sissy Rouge.
Very sorry.
So, well, not to like throw you into the spotlight here, but if you're here for a few minutes, is there anything that you want to share with everyone about working with us, or about your experience, or your future plans to involve the CPM?
People watching.
Oh, great. You're live streaming it twice. I'll tell you just a tiny bit to tell you how I feel about this. There's one reason why I came to CC. No matter if after that keynote some people may believe that or not. I came for that community. I came for, and a lot of people ask me and say how CCP does it, because they have a ton of processes in place. People like the CSM and the CPM manage that relationship, which is actually never easy. And I wanted to leave that. And I still want to leave that, which is why I embrace and I just love, you know, working with the CPM. And there's a lot of things we're doing wrong that I really take on the Shanghai side, or like the CCP. But Ben is great, so I'm just going to keep that on the one in Reykjavik. To have the right collaboration, which helps us, you know, kind of have a good conversation, a good conversation with our community on a daily basis, etc. And that just I love. I'm a big fan of. So I would say that for me, and I think the CPM knows that because we have weekly catch-up, weekly calls, and sometimes bi-weekly, or a lot. And we have a lot to discuss. And something when I discussed with Helmar, and I said, so how was it, you know, on Eve at the beginning? Because, you know, I'm like, okay, it's the CPM, and we're asking the CPM to get up to speed in, you know, a year and become something that has been running for 10 or 11 years. And he said it took forever to get to something where the dev team understood what it was supposed to do, the community understood what it was supposed to do, what they can and cannot ask of CPM. It's really important. They also understand that. And the group that the CPM is supposed to find in between as being kind of the liaison. So that made me feel better. I'm like, okay, so we're not completely crap.
Thanks.
So now I've talked talking we're not
filling in for you at the press reception.
But we're not there's some stuff because I just want to do it as well as we could, and sometimes there's some hits and misses. But yeah, that's what I think about CPM and relationship. Did that make any sense?
Yeah. I think so. You decide.
We need more beer.
Yes.
We'll fix this later.
I have some here.
I mean, JC's been absolutely awesome in trying to establish this relationship with CPM, because part of what we're like discovering, I guess, with working with them. I mean, I don't get it, and I kind of said, all right, I'll assume the mantle of being their point of contact in Shanghai. Part of what we're discovering is that, you know, we don't have processes for this stuff right now, and we're kind of building this as we're going along, and that's part of having a zero is really to establish that stuff. And JC's been nothing but supportive making that happen.
5 years, people forget. 5 years for Yvonne and I to get the first elected CSM. Do people know that?
Now that said, we've also been trying to encourage you that we
That
hope
we don't wait 5 years.
we hope that it doesn't take 5 years, and that's
No,
why
I agree.
people like me that have worked on the CSM are trying to teach you as much as we can about building those processes.
And you guys,
I hope we can shortcut it.
and
know,
you
like,
guys
that's the
have
goal.
done a really good job.
Yeah.
And and sometimes we even yell at each other, and for the right reasons. And I love how you guys stand up,
Yeah.
you know, against me also sometimes and say, no, you're wrong. You know, not for everything if you read the forums right now, but still, you do your job when it is to tell me no. You know, this is, and here's the thing too, as I said, I came for that.
Yeah.
I'm open for that. And now I come across that way too because I'm absolutely open for that.
Yeah, and obviously there are some people who do feel perhaps a little bit betrayed by the whole announcement, and that's natural. It's going to happen. But everyone here in the CPM honestly believe that everything that JC is doing is absolutely necessary. That will make a fantastic game.
I mean, I can't put on those kind of glasses and say that we're completely happy.
No,
with the
but
timing that happened.
Yes,
The timing of it,
the
and the messaging of it. So
no, we'd like to do it sooner, of course, but stuff and things.
And here's one thing important to me: CPM is also not a way for me to manipulate the masses.
Oh yeah, we
Meaning
talked about
Yeah,
that
we
before
said
you
that.
came in. Yeah,
Because to me though, but I'll cover it again. It's really important for me though that you're a counterbalance, which is that, and say, and multiple times you said, I would not say it that way, or I would not do it that way. After that, of course, it's my call to do it or not. But then I'm being extremely influenced by the way you by the feedback you guys are giving me and giving us. It's like CP Wolfman or Snowman.
Oh, it's the cats.
Just kidding.
That's how
It's
White Walker.
That's why I call him internally, but now it's too late, I guess. All over, but we have a question over there.
I just always meant that since now Project Legion is absolutely there, could the NDA on it start being lifted so that more information
There's like the issue with that is there's a lot of information that's still being discussed. It's like such a raw stage that it's just not ready for public consumption. It's just the honest reality of the situation. And eventually, in time, when we're ready to release it to the public, we will do so. But the thing is that the CPM is also not intended to be an information channel to the players about development. That's what we have for dev blogs in our own communication. Like, this is stuff that we should be telling you, and we should be telling you, and we will tell you. The CPM is not a feedback channel directly to the players for game development. That's us.
What I will say is when we tell the CPM is under an NDA, it's generally under the confidence, just as Ben said, because it's ideas that we're throwing around, and it's not in any state to even be thrown out to you guys. But now, having said, now that we've announced the project we're working on, there's going to be, fingers crossed, a lot more stuff that we can share with you guys and to get your feedback on. And that's absolutely the way we do things at CCP. This was a big, announcement that we really wanted to.
And it starts, and it starts today. As I said, some people would say, well, that was too early to share that, or too late, or too whatever. But the idea is just to try to put it out there, which is risky and get a lot of slaps in the face for that. But that's part of the game. And at the same time, the community that helps you shape the right product. It's all nice words and stuff, but it's true. At least that we try to hold true to that. So that's the idea. And yes, I'd love to share.
But CCPZ's progression presentation was a great example of that. I mean, that's something you came to us. I think you're like second week on the job, and you're like, I got all these crazy ideas. We got this progression system. It's all we gotta start. Like, there's all these problems. We gotta clean up here, and here's how I want to tackle it. And some of the stuff that you showed us at the beginning, we liked. Some of it we were like, oh my God, what are you thinking? But we were, we wrote you up pages and pages of feedback. We had lots of discussions, and you came back to us with some material more recently that's like very, very much in line with what players have been asking about on the forums. They've been asking to tackle about power levels and gear, about giving people an easier way to understand what gear is supposed to go with what suits, about simplifying the number of decisions you make early in the game, but giving expert players all the customization that they used to have still. And I really think that the progression system that you presented is in a good spot, specifically because you've been working with us, and the fact that we're even sharing those details is exactly part of that. Now that we can talk about Legion, we can talk about the content that's being developed for Legion, and it is. It's the content itself is being rebuilt, and that's why we're not. It's we call this dust when it's like a rebuilt game essentially.
But at the same time, we've still been having conversations with the developers about dust.
Yeah.
The Planetary Conquest.
There's a reason. Now you probably understand some of the reasons we're talking about hotfixes only. So right now, the bandwidth levels, maybe some hotfixes
can do right now as CCP is figuring out where they need to be putting resources, all right? So what we can do easy fixes, and that's why I want to get feedback from you guys regarding easy fixes that can improve the system as is. Because CCP doesn't want to just shut the damn thing off and leave you guys on work. I mean, some people are going, oh, well, why don't you just, because they didn't want to, because they believed in you all, and they want to give you all the opportunity to continue playing your game. And that's sort of feedback from us too. So.
Why can I say that well? That's what I've been trying to say all along.
So long story short, that's not dead.
One thing I will add though is when we CCP release information that was previously embedded for the CPM, you can then start talking to them and get their thoughts and bits of the discussion. I mean, there'll be parts of the discussion that like the bits or offshoot that we decided to leave at the bottom of the cutting room for very good reasons usually, that they won't be able to talk about. But what we've basically gone forward with, they can definitely talk and give you their thoughts on that and like bits of discussion around that to a certain extent.
Yeah, like one of the things that we've basically said for the past year and a half is if you have something good to say, like there's good news, just fucking tell people. Like we've pushed so hard for a lot of stuff to get put out that wasn't said until a couple weeks or a couple months later, or sometimes never said at all. And like we've been more hounding up on that lately. Like,
but I mean, some of that's on us. I mean,
yeah,
I can give a recent example.
All of it.
Yeah,
all of
it's on them.
And it's.
But like before JC got here, it was super frustrating because there was a lot of stuff.
I might just actually on that point. Before JC got here, we were in a bit of a lurch because we didn't actually have an executive producer for the project, so it was a bit hard to like. There's a lot of time with as far as establishing a process and establishing a proper working relationship with CPM because we didn't actually have an executive producer. So the fact that he's actually come in it's just the fact that he's there at all is a big help with that, and just he's been incredibly supportive of it. So that's been helping even further.
Yeah, like and
back to your point.
We've had like JC come in like a couple meetings. He wasn't even scheduled. He's like, yo guys, I just had this idea. Like I haven't talked to the devs at all yet. Like I just want to see what you guys think. And then we're just like, you know, like that's pretty cool. Like you should get the ball rolling on that. And like yeah, like
brain juice, your word.
Yeah, actually that's
we tell them that's a horrible idea all the time. Like, there's been a lot of stuff where we're just like, no, don't do that.
Realize one thing. So I come, let's look where I come from. I don't want to throw any companies on the good bus. I'm from a school of, as a player and stuff, I love MMOs and all. I've been on the other side. I've been wanting to make conditions and stuff. And now I come in a company and tell me, yeah, so we have awesome people in place. Keep talking to the community. And then they're going to keep giving you feedback, and they're going to actually help you some of the big design decisions, or balancing, or da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, what can I do except jump up and down? But the problem I realized, though, is that, yes, it doesn't happen overnight. And there's processes and stuff, and we had frustrating discussion. I'm like, what do you mean you haven't seen that? And I go and talk to someone and say, did you want to show that feature brief to them? Well, it's not ready. Yeah, okay, but that's the whole point. But then it's difficult to actually get anyone. It's like, I don't know, but sometimes you go to a painter.
Yeah.
He's half painting, and then you're like, can I see? You're like, no, the paint is not finished. And that's the kind of get. It's like, okay, well, that's not what we do. So we and that's what we hit on a daily basis with the dev team. When some people in there, and I'm trying to get them to understand and say, no, open up, show your stuff. They'll help you. And CCPZ, for that matter, comes from the same school. He wants to do them. That's why you opened up naturally. Got completely burned on the first meeting, and on the second,
that was a funny story.
Came to me with red eyes and tears and stuff, but it's okay. And he came back stronger and said, "I'll win." And then he opened up and progression and stuff, and it's just a start anyway. So I don't want to make that talk feel like we figured it out, we won. No, we have a long way to go, a super long way to go. I mean, but yeah, hopefully we're trying the right way, I guess.
Yep. So now that the muzzle's kind of been removed, back in October, what was your initial reaction to this?
We flipped tables. Like everything you guys are going through now, it was the same thing.
I think when they actually first told us, there was like maybe like a minute of just like silence, and they're like, "What do you think, guys?" And we're just like,
Like, are you fucking kidding us?
I mean, it was overwhelming. We could almost see all the 6 months all the way up to this day and what this would feel like. Like you could almost see all that flash the minute that they said, we're gonna start working on this PC prototype. Yeah, we know the community well enough to know exactly how they're gonna react to different types of changes and situations, and so.
Yeah,
so
it was actually worse for us because we only got a very small amount of information before we actually got really told everything.
Yeah.
And for that small information caused us really to flip
Yeah,
tables.
we got a tidbit, and then we panicked. We're like, "What the fuck, Ben?"
And
Ben was like, "All right, we're getting a meeting with JC. He's gonna lay it out for you guys." And then we started to feel a little bit better about it, but it was still.
I remember it was very open. It was one of your original presentations. You just absolutely laid it all out there, and it was a very open. It was very cathartic for us because we've never had that openness.
Yeah,
a lot of this stuff is, and that's the thing. And that has been perfect, no, but there's been definite improvements from where we were when there was no EP to where we are now, and it's still a process. There's still things we have to improve on, but it has improved. And this is one of the things, one of the reasons that the NBA is a double-edged sword. Because we're sitting out here thinking, oh my God, we have to, because we want to protect you guys, we want to help you guys, but they're sitting there and we know this crap. And I don't know, for me, it tore me apart. It's just awful.
It's very difficult. We knew that some of these decisions would be controversial. We knew that, it's really bittersweet. At the same time, the content of what's being developed here is really, really solid and really very much in line with the vision that players have had for Dust all along. And so, we can't tell them they're doing everything wrong because they're not actually doing everything wrong. They're for the most part, they're listening and they're building the features in that should be built in and that the community is currently begging them to build. They're building. It's just that at the same time, the contents, the context and the timeline and how this is all going to come to fruition, people have a lot of questions about. And I think that the thing is at the beginning, we were frustrated by like Nova said, we got little tidbits, and that was, we wanted to hear more. But as frustrating as that might have been, the same way that it's frustrating for you guys to just start to hear a little bit of this without the full picture, I think what I was kind of coaching you guys at the time was look, they're doing exactly what they should be. The fact that we're scared or that we don't know everything is still a healthy side effect, because it means that they're actually coming to us really, really early. You came to us and shared this decision before you knew what it was going to turn into. You just knew that you wanted to explore, Yeah, you came to us even before some of the teams. And so that, to me, that's huge that he's willing to come to us and share.
And you guys were really supportive at the time, saying you're completely fucking crazy. But the one thing though important there, I don't know if some of the people joining us right now have watched the ETV, which is the CCD because we try to explain more some of this stuff I didn't cover in my keynote, and I realized that it was some of the steps weren't covered, so I just think that to say that I hope some of the people saw that. We're trying to understand a little bit, or address a few things. One of them is what happens next for people's accounts that and the other one, and I've been very clear on the fact that it's a journey. We don't leave anyone behind. That's for people that obviously want to keep working. That's another question. And why PC? So again, I'm not going to go into details now. It's moving a little bit from CPM, but as we talked about some of these items, that's something we try to address a little bit in the ETZ. We'll keep addressing because it's not in our interest right now to leave anything more. Just one second.
All right. So first, I want to thank you for being as open as you were today. This is the CPM panel because it was helpful, and I was happy to see that from devs. And the thing I want to burn Kane, because we had a progression talk yesterday not yesterday, the day before yesterday on the Golden Circle bus, and it was pretty much exactly what he presented. And you told me I was wrong.
He was required by me to do that. So if you want to blame somebody, blame me.
No, we need some type of tiers and power levels. He's like, no, it needs to be completely flat. I'm like, are you insane?
And I was about to say, it also can have his own. He may not agree with CCPC on his vision. So.
In many cases, the CPM will, even after we've decided on a particular thing, they will still have agreements. So perfectly fine. Like, their job is basically to disagree if it is logical to disagree from their point of view.
And we don't all agree with each other on some of these issues too. We've had plenty of some of these features where we have differing opinions on exactly how they should be implemented, based on the fact that all five of us have just different perspectives depending on what kind of groups we run with and what kind of gameplay we engage in. And but that's healthy. That's important. It's, if we all agree, there wouldn't be any point in having five of us, or six of us, we know it.
So I'm saying one thing back on this point where Josie just mentioned. I've said it before, but I'd love to say it again. Please help us amplify the message that we've said here. It's one or two people tweeting, writing, going on TV and stuff. It still gets missed by people, and you guys are the ones that are here and are picking our brains. And
you're just trying to cover your ass.
It's just trying to
I will say that it does
it's
actually.
like blame him.
No, that's your job.
I'm just saying, I would love to have you guys ask us questions, go and tell people we don't.
But again, but there's something important too there. People are and should voice exactly the frustration.
Yeah, absolutely.
And put and also whatever mock me or whatever they feel at one point and say that was unfair, idiotic, you should not do that and stuff, because guess what? I've just been super open about how I see the future.
Absolutely.
And hit me, unfortunately that's where we are.
I just want to ask you a question.
Unfortunately, depending.
Yeah.
But don't
I want to ask you a question of the CPM, just to kind of go in the other direction. How has how have you found it with the player base approaching you with their concerns and their ideas and all their thoughts? How have you found that during your time so far? Excellent.
Pretty darn good. Yeah. I mean, surprisingly,
people from bugs to problems or ideas and anything under the sun.
There's still some. We still hear and see some comments here and there on the forums about the CPM hasn't been communicating or they don't. But those are in most cases people that have completely checked out and not paid any attention or made any effort to get engaged with us whatsoever. I've been running a Skype channel. Nova's, been moderating IRC forever. We've all done various. Tony's been amazing on the forums. Kane's entrenched in the PC community. Everybody, you've been on, interviews and stuff on YouTube and broadcasted, blogs and stuff. And we've made every opportunity available to people that want to come to us and engage us. And for the most part, the people that really care and really want to make a difference have easily found us, reached out to us, and engaged us. And I think the people that are sitting around going, "Oh my gosh, these guys don't communicate," or "I can't get a hold of them," are the exception rather than the norm right now.
And again, I just want to build a point. Again, like I said earlier, the CPM is not necessarily a channel for us to directly communicate with the players. We should just be doing that ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So people should not rely on the CPM to tell them what's happening in game development. Yeah. They should be relying on CCP to tell them.
That's why Hans stopped his weekly reports, because he felt at the time, before JC came in.
The weekly reports thing stopped because all I could have posted for the last 6 months is we had a meeting this week, we had 2 meetings this week, and we had 3 meetings this week, and I can't tell you about any of them. And that would have driven players totally nuts.
Blame the NDA for that.
And
but it was just required.
I didn't want to just be a cock tease the whole time, just to put it bluntly,
people.
Yeah, and so to be honest, you just be look, guys, there's so little that we can share back, other than we're in lots of meetings and we can't talk about it. And there wasn't anything new or different. Every blog post, I could have done them every single week, and it all would have been the same. It all would have been boring and useless. And I just had better things to do with my time than frustrate people, So.
Sorry?
Do we get a 30-year rule? I mean, okay, the 30-year rule is a bit silly, but after a period of time,
I think that was 6 year old.
Which was NDA will then cease to be NDA and can be brought out to the open. So we know
there are things we would talk about that will never, ever, ever see the light of day for various reasons.
And then there are some things. A 5-year limitation, but frankly, I feel 5 years from now, so many things will have changed that most
some
of the
stuff will
that is
not matter,
now,
and some stuff will just
is
make good stories, assuming CCP's cool with it.
Yeah, some stuff some stuff will be share funny moments and things like that, but some things are should never see the light of day for various very good reasons that will also never see the light of day.
Let's pay for vehicles with real life money.
I've said this before on CSM panels, and I feel the same way. The CPM as well, which is that the NDA is a blessing tool that allows us to do our jobs. Because if we had to like go back and forth every step of the way, or like we could share everything that we can, it would almost slow us down if we tried to every single little thing. Like there needs to be sometimes rapid iteration, rapid discussions. Then being able to present ideas, us say, okay, give the broad strokes about why it's working or not working, and then they develop and go back and forth. It has to happen rapidly, and you know the best way to do it. That's why the CPM is a smaller team to begin with, because that's what is nimble and efficient and can take care of that. And the NDA protects us by allowing us to have, you know, creative input without all of the drama that comes from everybody having an opinion about stuff that never sees the light of day. And that's a part of any creative process anywhere, whether you're making a movie, a book, a film, a video game, anything that people are making. Like things go through iterations and drafts, and like not all of it is good. And that's so I've never once felt like the NDA shackled us necessarily. Like it's been frustrating not being able to talk about the Legion stuff. But that said, us being not talking about Legion doesn't mean that it's slowed us down from doing our work, which is what we've been very active, you know, the last 6 months actually working with you on Dust and Legion both. And so, you know, the NDA never like hampers us. It to me it frees us and allows us to do stuff that we couldn't do otherwise.
And if we ever get to the point where CCPs tells us not to say something, where we feel that we absolutely have to say something, we give them endless shit for it until they relent.
Don't like the amount of shit they do get me started.
We did say a very long time we really need to tell people about Legion as soon as possible. We did try very hard, just for the record.
But at the end of the day, I just want to add this as well, especially for people out there and that people will be watching this again. The CPM is a structure, and a lot of people probably have this misconception. The CPM in no way is able to dictate everything.
No.
They're only advisory.
You can't say CCP, you will do this.
Yeah, but
it's their decision at the end. It's their damn company.
Yes.
All
But
right.
the point of the CPM
it's
is
something that we need to understand though, in terms of what the barriers are, especially for going forward in the future CPMs too. You have to know where the lines are too.
There's something interesting here too. If you see CSM and what we use, like let's say in true consulting applications, it also gets very less confrontational weighing. Indeed, after you guys are super early in the process, weigh in with the community, impacts design, impacts balance, impacts that, and then you get in that thing where being in a confrontation becomes the exception.
Yeah.
You guys had a much better ride
than
that. From my experience over the past 6 months in such a
right down the end.
This is more of a thing for segueing at the root. You said about trying to spread the message and stuff to not tell players about not hanging dust. May I recommend doing another Twitch interview? Like you taking player questions and sort of answering them.
So something we actually discussed very briefly. We didn't really talk about the format, but we mentioned that we were thinking about doing like a Q&A or something, after we get back to Shanghai, I think.
Yep.
But we will definitely look at doing more of this stuff. I think now that we've kind of, had our announcement and that sort of thing, I know for a fact JC loves interacting with players, and I know he would love to do that, and that's kind of why we haven't done it to date. But we've talked about it ourselves, and we're definitely interested in
Don't just do it on a weird red couch.
Yes. That is the only couch in Shanghai.
It can also be natural.
Yeah. You're more than welcome to come by the IRC channel and just say hey. And ignore everybody's questions because they will cover you with everything.
Actually, I remember the first day JC walked into the office, he saw me on IRC and he was like, I want to get on there. I want to get on there and talk to players. And so he'll do it.
It's more people telling us like, no, you're not ready.
Yeah.
In all honesty, though, like it's been constraining. Like the fact that we've now announced Legion means we're basically lifting the lid, and now we can more openly talk about all of this stuff. So do expect us to talk more about Legion in the future.
Yeah, and remember one thing too again, and I keep hitting that, and I hope maybe keynote I try to save maybe the French accent, I don't know, but it is still early day, which is also why we went into early day to get feedback and drop checking and stuff. So what I tried to explain there was kind of the experience, the group with this, the way I see the ecosystem, but that's not this.
Yeah. Like when we say prototype, we actually mean like serious prototype.
It's just loot.
I think the kids confused my desk
One is terrible. Zan.
Alright, so going back a
Winners.
month or two ago.
Wait your turn. Zan.
I recorded
Winners and the first.
Hey,
The
CPM panel, they get to pick.
All right,
So going back a couple months ago, what was y'all's thoughts when the rumor leaked that the Legion trademark was for
That was like
Dust on PC?
That was like last week. That was basically just a we'll have to just keep going at this stage.
Yeah.
They didn't really have
Like,
any
we
choice
told
in the
them-
matter.
I followed the rumor, but did people actually point out at the PC?
Yeah, like there was actually somebody, like the first guy who posted, at least in particular places, especially in the e-forums, they were like, this is going to be Dust on PC because there was also some other contributing things that, actually it's in there, but there was actually an issue where a little while ago, one of the build names on one of our public test servers just actually changed to Dust PC. And it was only changed for like a very short amount of time before we changed it again.
We should have named the server FPS Experience on PC being developed for PC architecture.
Maybe we should.
Because it's not technically Dust on PC. Yes.
No, but the people managed to put 2 and 2 together, and Project Legion people were doing. But then we've announced Project Legion, so now it's out in the open.
On our end, like when we found out like that the trademark leaked, we were just like, you know what, guys, like go balls to the wall, like just call it E-Legion. Like but they're like, no, it's too early. Like it is a prototype, like it's not official yet. But we're like, you know what, like.
I'd also say, like honestly,
that was our point.
We haven't actually named the game anything yet. That's actually the case, and I know this sounds
like we basically,
but companies file trademarks for these.
Yeah, we basically picked the trademark up because we like the name and just in case we want to do so somebody doesn't squat on it, because that would be terrible if we had to change it to, I don't know, something else.
But
I
actually want to put that
No,
like
but
on
we
the record.
did, I mean, let's be also super honest. We did cover our ass.
Yeah.
If that ever becomes the game.
Yeah, and
then
for the other
that's
time.
it. It's like there's no other stuff to be discussed
kicking us
about.
out?
It's just that.
Yeah, she's
So
got to
we're
kick us
supposed
out.
to do like this.
Yeah.
You're actually on camera.
Don't do this. I don't even know what this means.
Oh,
Does anybody know what this would mean?
I think it's that one.
I
You're doing great.
We're doing great. Alright, we'll finish up.
So
Yeah.
it's like okay. So the file is going to be in my data cloud. So
Yeah.
so you know.
We'll
so
finish
you
up.
get last in the queue.
Okay.
Okay.
So
EA trademarks.
Aeon, he's got one last question. So Aeon, fire away, man.
Alright, look, it's not so much as a re-emphasization of what you were saying earlier. There should be no more excuses as to why we can't get like information early on to give feedback on. Because and I apologize for being abrasive, but there is no more frustrating shit in the world than being asked for feedback and then it not mattering because it's too late in the design process to actually.
You're referring to things that are more like the updates we've been getting for Dust, not necessarily Legion stuff, but you're talking about, and I absolutely agree. Yeah,
quite CPM related, but I will touch. There has been we've been doing. It's not really it's something we have to work on internally. We are aware of this, and it is something we really want to work on and have been to a certain amount. But it is still something that myself and Saberwing, we're both relatively new in the scheme of things at the company, so. A lot of this is probably in our head, and we are working towards fixing it. We want to get information out early and get feedback, but it is something that it's something we have to work on.
And something, sorry, just the other crappy painter analogy I just had. It was also to show that there needs to be a lot of people in the dev team to also open up enough to then give that design, to then have the process and be able to do that thing. So there's a big part on me, and there's a big part on the dev team. To also open up, get into that. It's a process. It's not, and again, I keep referring to CSM if that's the big brother to a certain extent. No offense, obviously, but they have processes, super solid processes in place to ensure with people I can name all the CCP that have CCP X, Y, Z, which are always in the loop, and then making sure that ship balancing. Massive reviews and stuff before. We need to get there, but it's not just that you guys or CCP Saberwing or Saberwing. It's kind of just like CCP Snowman. Sorry, just to finish the point, it's not just that. It's also very much us. So I took it from me too, and on the dev team to keep pushing and say, hey guys, we owe these guys that process and. So absolutely.
Yeah. It just feels like for the Dust 514 side of things, we would give our feedback, but it's too late to do anything about it.
In many ways in the past it's been the case like that. In some ways we're basically trying to open up more. So basically getting from the state where we used to be, because historically we were not particularly great at this, to the state where we are basically doing the equivalent of what CCP was.
And there's also something interesting coming along, though, is that for the case of Evolve, in that case, they were in an expansion pace, right? So they had quite a bit of lead time. Since launch, Dust 514 has been on a crazy pace. Yeah. And the dev team were like, every time it's like trying to get the next thing in like super quickly. I've never seen a game with, for the first 6 months of its life or whatever, had so many releases happening to come a long way. And then that process, then it's like, and if you know, EVE Online actually is changing the pace from expansion to every 6 weeks releases, and their CSM is going to have to actually change some of the processes because it changes a lot of things. Now, they're a mature group and stuff, I'm not worried, and I wish them the best, obviously, just like to us, but that's the type of stuff also just to keep in mind as we're trying to set up the right processes.
Yeah.
It's no excuses to answer your stuff, but it's just a reality we're facing, or we're trying to, that's one.
Obviously with PC there'll be a very different process to the current one that we've been used to for the last...
As far as the as far as the development and deployment process, like there was actually with Dust at the moment, we still have a very, very lead time between we have finished this build and now we can deploy it.
And you've heard what I said before is I do not want to promise stuff that we can't deliver. Yeah. So even when I say things will be better on PC, we'll do everything we can to make them better. Yeah. But I hate, and that's and that's maybe that's a bit of a change of pace perhaps and stuff, but I will not overpromise.
Yeah.
I do not want to.
Now, I'd love to keep going, but we're going to have to cut this short because I really want to get to see CCP Dolan get the crap beaten out of him.
Thanks, guys.
He's the coach.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.